welcome to the best thing I've learned from the first 10 personal development books that I've ever read. My name is Henry Deering. Welcome to Henry's Documentary. Let's get into it. The first one we got is Personality Plus. This is the first book that I read, and it really opened my eyes to the different types of people in the world. Basically talks about 4 personality types. There's 2 outgoing, and there's 2 introverted, not as outgoing. You take a quiz to see which one you are. And when I read the things about myself, I was like, this is crazy that I had a couple aha moments. So my personality type is a peaceful phlegmatic, one of the introverted personality type. So some of the good things was that this person likes to stay low key, and they like to try to keep the peace, like amongst friends, amongst family. Those are the type of the things I related to. Inherently bad things that come with being this personality type is inherent laziness and lack of communication skills. And then when I read those, I was like, sometimes I can be pretty lazy, sometimes I can have bad communication. So how to solve these bad problems and how to knowledge of the good things that you have in your personality type. Not only just for me, but it helped me understand other people. So when I would read this book, I would go out into the world or go into school, and I would see kids in the hallway. I was like, they got to be this type. Or interacting with teachers, I was like, he's got to be this type. You know what I mean? It really opened my eyes to different types of people and helped me understand, have more of a grasp on the world and my interaction with people in general. The main things I learned was confidence in myself and how to better understand other people. The second book I read was 11 Rings by Phil Jackson. If you don't know who Phil Jackson is, he coached Michael Jordan to 6 NBA championships and Kobe Bryant to 5 NBA championships. And he actually won 2 as a player, so he could have titled it 13 Rings, but this is more of a book of him as a coach. The main thing that I learned that sticks with me today is how he talked about a team beats a group of individuals. When you're on a team and all working together, that beats everyone trying to do their own thing and also win. So like if you got 5 people on the court that are all trying to score, that's worse than 5 people on the court who are working together to get one guy to score on that specific possession relative to the situation, you know what I mean? This principle can be applied to many situations in life other than just basketball or other than just a team sport. I mean, like your job, you're going to be surrounded by a lot of people, with your family, which is kind of the main area that I took to apply this principle. A team beats a group of individuals. Number 3, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This is a classic, so I had to read it. If you're unfamiliar, he had a father who was high up in the education world, but he was his poor dad, and his friend's dad ran a bunch of businesses and was his rich dad. And basically he talks about the stories that he learned from Rich Dad, which made him into a rich man, mostly dealing with real estate, which is a big passion of mine. And the biggest lesson I learned from Rich Dad, Poor Dad was how to see things from the third side of the coin. So often, if you think about a quarter or any sort of coin, there's a head side and a tail side, which we would acknowledge as the 2 sides of the coin. But the third side is actually the edge. And he talks about how standing on the edge, being able to see both sides and adapt situation to situation, can allow for a better thought process and a better result, rather than always being on heads no matter what happens, or always being on tails. Being able to see things from the third side of the coin or the middle to where you can analyze both things and make a decision based on that specific circumstance has stuck with me for a while. Number 4, Tony Dungy's Quiet Strength. The best thing I learned from Quiet Strength was to let your choices determine your circumstances. Don't let your circumstances determine your choices. Basically what that means is look at the environment around you, like your house, your home, your workplace. Don't let those things interrupt who you are, the decisions you make to move forward or to work, whatever it may be. Don't let the circumstances around you determine your choices. Your choices can determine your circumstance. So like, let's say you have a crappy job or a crappy house. You can't let the fact that those things are true to hold you back from working to get a better house or get a better job. For me, that really helped me out a lot. And all these things that I've learned have been a constantly trying to apply and getting better at. It's not like I hear it, I read it, and then now I'm like great at it. It's not that at all. I think in my life today, I have decided to let my choices determine my circumstances. 5th book I read is Everybody Always by Bob Love. Now, this is a Christian author who writes a lot of books about Jesus and love. This book specifically is about love. I think all young men, boys, teens, high schoolers, middle schoolers, love is an interesting concept because it's not natural for us who love. I don't think, because of my interaction with, these types of people, me included being one of them. Loving is not naturally in the mind. So this book really opened my eyes to what love is and like how to love like Jesus. Like Jesus, if you read the Bible, like God, they love unconditionally. There's no condition with love. It's like, I see you and I don't even try to understand you. I just do, and I love you. And if we as people are called to live like Christ or live like God, not to count ourselves as perfect, but to try to mimic the behaviors as much as possible, love is the first step And this book really opened my eyes to that, about how important love is. Not just like physical affection or loving your spouse, girlfriend, wife, whatever. And then for the flip side, like for girls, but it's just like, just love other people, that just appreciate who they are, just taking people for who they are. And this goes back to the personality book as well. Like I understand people's personality now. I understand them and I'm not as annoyed by them, but on top of just going from mad to tolerable, can I go from tolerable to love? That book really showed me and taught me what that meant. Book number 6, Who Owns the Ice House? Now this book you've probably never heard of. The only reason I read it was because it was a part of an entrepreneurship class that I took at community college, which I no longer attend. But I'm very happy that I got to read that book because I never would have if I didn't go to college for a semester. Best thing I learned, something called the locus of control. Now you have an internal locus of control and an external locus of control. The internal locus of control is what you have control over. The external is what you do not have control over. And after defining that, you can either react to a situation or respond. Reacting to a situation in which you cannot control, it's like this. There's no time, there's no thought process. It's just your instant reaction. Now a response is taking time in between events and response. So this really helped me out because this isn't necessarily a part of my personality type, but I can sometimes be quick-tempered. And that, honestly, through reading these books, I have slowly gone away from that, and I'm very patient now. And I think patience was a trait I already had, but now I can exercise that because I know personalities, because I know love, and because I know have control over yourself. Learning what the locus of control is and understanding the concept really helped me in my day-to-day life to see for myself and for others, like when things happen that we can't control, there's no point to overreact and get super annoyed, super heated, because it's like you didn't have control over it, dude. So why are you even gonna like take the time to be mad about it? You see what I'm saying? Like this concept really helped me understand and grasp what control really means in my life. Book number 7, Cash Flow Quadrant. This is the sequel to Rich Dad Poor Dad, but this book is a quadrant of you and as to your financial status. The thing I want to talk about has nothing to do with a quadrant, but instead it's a concept called be, do, have. Basically what this means, say you have a goal. January 1st, I'm going to add 15 pounds of muscle in the next 6 months. How long is that going to last? Just based off the to-do list. A month at best, but 2 weeks before you're eating junk food again, you're missing days in the gym. It's not like those things are bad, but if you have the goal for 6 months, then you're going to start beating yourself up. Now you introduce this concept called be. Instead of doing the things to have the things, you have to become the person who does the things to have the things. Before I can have a successful podcast, I will have to do successful episodes. Before I can do successful episodes, I have to become a good podcaster. It doesn't matter what mic I have, what camera I have, what audio equipment, this, that, and the third, what setup I have. It does not matter if I myself am not being a successful podcaster. And that comes from doing. So in order to be, you have to do. And then once you do, you will eventually have. Now it depends on how big your time horizon is, because if you're like, I need to add 15 pounds of muscle in 6 months, and you stick to the be, do, have for 6 months and it doesn't happen, it's like, well, maybe it takes a year. But your time horizon is too narrow, sorry. So you have to expand it. Be, do, have, the most important principle that I learned from the cash flow quadrant. Book number 8, Think and Grow Rich. Biggest thing that I learned that sticks with me every day, every liability has an equal asset. Let's say you break your arm. Like, let's say that's a liability in your life. No matter what you do, there's an equal asset for that. And that opened my eyes not to think now that breaking your arm is good or something to that equivalent or worse. It doesn't make those things good, but you can now search for the asset in the situation. Now, I really don't want to go out and break my arm this week, today, whatever. But if I did, then there's some beauty in that. Like maybe that's part of the story once you get to be 35 and now you're telling people about what you've been through for the last 15 years. And breaking your arm was like kind of the turning point of like going downhill, but then you found yourself, you know what I mean? It's something like that, something along those lines. There are assets to every liability, and it might take 20 years to figure out what that asset is. And as a 19-year-old myself, I'm not saying I've had that type of thing happen to me. If you can understand every liability as an equal asset, it will allow you to mentally be a lot more positive. Now that you can't be upset, be sad about these liabilities, you have the opportunity to focus on the asset. Number 9, a book called Range by David Epstein. I got this book for Christmas and I had no idea what it was about. So I read it, obviously. The best thing I learned: we live in a test and learn world, not a plan and implement world. What does that mean? My podcast, we got 13 episodes right now. They are test episodes. Our best episode might be episode 50, it might be episode 600. The point is, I can't have best episode 50 by planning for 50 weeks rather than testing by putting out an episode. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be bad. It's going to be bad. These videos are going to be bad compared to what they will be down the line. But right now, I'm just testing. I'm putting something out there. I'm trying to figure it out. That has been a huge help to me. So thank you for the Christmas present. Last but not least, book number 10, Atomic Habits. This is another very popular book. As you can probably imagine, this book is about habits. Best thing that I learned from Atomic Habits, and it's honestly crazy how all of these books kind of work together. Every action you take is casting a vote for the identity that you choose to adopt. So every time that you eat a salad, you're a healthy eater. Every time that you go to the gym, you are an athlete. Vice versa, every time you smoke a cigarette, you are a smoker. Every time you lay on the couch for long periods of time, you are lazy. This type of thing. Also, to go along with that, the words that you use are very important. So let's say, go back to the smoking analogy because that's what they use in the book. A person who's trying to quit smoking goes to work and he goes outside with a coworker who says, "Hey, do you want a cigarette?" Instead of saying, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit," he should say, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." Even if he smoked yesterday, simply saying, "I am not a smoker," reinforces the identity that you are not a smoker to yourself. Now, you can't be delusional and lie and then go home and smoke a pack of cigarettes. You have to uphold that identity every single time. And then that action of not smoking casts a vote that you are no longer a smoker. All right, I'm gonna run through each point. Personality plus. Help me understand myself, help me understand others. Phil Jackson, a team is better than a group of individuals. See the third side of the coin. Your choices determine your circumstances, not the other way around. Love like Jesus loves. Focus on what you can control. Be, do, have. Every liability has an equal asset. We live in a test and learn world, not a plan and implement world. Every action you take casts a vote for a new identity, and the words you use are very important. Yo, I had the perfect opportunity to have these chill up here, bro.